Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Houston Roundball Review presents Folks Talking Sports. I'm one of the three tri-hosts, Kris Gardner of Houston Roundball Review. Joining me is Andy Yanez from the Community Impact newspaper and Pawd, Slama, Jama, and a newbie. We're trying to bring her onto the show. Technical difficulties, I guess. She's got the gremlins, Andy, that we had when we first started doing this stuff.
Yeah.
But Jala Mason is in the studio. We're going to try to bring her in with just audio only and see if that works. How's that, Jala? See,
Okay.
not even the audio is working right now. So we're just gonna, and I hate it because I really wanted to have her insight on the show because she works at the Daily Cougar. While and that's a heads up for everyone tuning in. Willie Gibson is
on Twitter.
Is covering the Cleveland Browns game. And Andy, who's quarterbacking for the Browns?
Hey, that third ward UH alum quarterback, Case Keenum.
Correct. Case Keenum is quarterbacking for the Browns. Baker Mayfield is out with an injury. So I asked Will, I look forward to him having copious amounts of Case Keenum content for next week's show. So we'll see if he comes through with that. Going to try one more time with Jala. How about that? Can you hear us now? That's a bummer. It really is a bummer. We'll keep trying it. She's just going to try to give us a few insights because she has some other obligations to take care of this evening. So if she can't make it this Thursday, we'll just do it again in the future.
Yeah, I was going to say, if she's trying it with a computer, maybe she should try it off her phone.
Well, let's try that, Jala, how about that?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We hear you. Yeah,
yes,
we hear you.
I'm on my phone.
Okay. Are you on your phone?
Yes, I am.
See, Andy Yanez, smart again. The youngsters are going to carry me through. Me and my old brain, sometimes this doesn't adjust to these new technologies. Jala, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing okay. Thank you for taking these few minutes to join us. And just for those who don't know, tell us about yourself and let's get started that way.
Yeah, so I'm currently a senior at the University of Houston, and I'm a writer for the Cougar, the sports section. Andy was the editor a year ago, so that's where I know him from. And then I'm also in Coog TV, which is like the school's TV station, and I'm a sports reporter there as well.
And let me see. I'm trying to get this right. On Twitter, you are Mason Jala, right?
Yes.
All right, so let me just add that to the list here. Okay. We don't have a lot of time with you this evening. This is just the start of the future of Folks Talking Sports branching out. So let's talk, Andy, Jala, some U of H basketball, football, whatever y'all want to talk about, U of H sports related. Let's go from there. Jala, you first.
Yeah, so I'm excited, obviously, about basketball season starting up just like everyone. And with our preseason ranking coming out, we're coming in at number 15, and I'm excited about that as well. I feel like a lot of people may think it's a little too high for what we've lost, but I feel pretty confident in the culture that's been built in our transfers and who we still have there as well.
Andy, what do you say about that? It's interesting that she said 15 was too high. Whenever I could see that. To be honest, I thought 15 might be a little low, just in terms of when you look at the other Final Four teams. Houston's 15, and you have Baylor. I believe Baylor's like at 8. UCLA's at the top at 2, I believe, and then Gonzaga was first. So Houston kind of got really brought down in terms of Final Four teams. But yeah, like you said, with what they're losing and really the 4 key players and Dejan Jarreau, Quentin Grimes, Justin Gorham, and or I guess those 3 key main players. But then just with the roster turning over and whatnot, I could see them why they've fallen. But I think that the thing that caught me, and I argue maybe it's too low, is just, again, going back to Memphis. They're ahead of Houston, and I know they got a good recruiting class, but year in and year out, Memphis is always high, and they just haven't been able to put it together. I would say voters should give Kelvin Sampson the nod, but I don't know. That's just me.
Well, I think Memphis was picked 12 preseason, right?
Correct.
And U of H
Yeah.
15. This is the AP poll, I think. So
Yeah.
this is the writers. And that's fine. I mean, because all three of us know that in the AAC coaches poll, U of H was picked first, Memphis was picked second.
Right.
So perhaps the coaches know more than the writers, and I think coaches would say that they do anyway. You know, I've heard that for years covering sports, that we know more than y'all. So what do y'all know anyway? But I don't care one way or the other. 15, 12, 10, 5, 1. To borrow from Coach Ron Huey, the U of H women's basketball coach, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So national poll, 15 to the Coogs. You know, if they finish number one at the end of the season, that means they won the championship. So that's really all I care about. The focus right there is that. But whatever. 15, 12 is good for conversation, and we're talking about it. So mission accomplished there. Taylor, your thoughts on U of H football being 5-1? Are you surprised?
Honestly, I am surprised just because I didn't know if we had gained enough or if enough had changed from last year. I know there were COVID issues, but there were with every other team. So I'm pretty impressed with how we're doing, not gonna lie. Especially with the way that the season started, that loss to Texas Tech, I didn't really know. So I feel confident going forward in conference right now.
And the next game is East Carolina. But let's pause for a moment because I failed to give Mr. Yanez some grief about his predictions, his guarantees from last Thursday's show, where Mr. Yanez, remind folks, Mr. Yanez, of your guarantees at that time last week, sir.
I mean, okay, so it started off good. I said that the Astros would go heading into Boston with a 2-0 series lead.
Yes.
They won game one, so I was feeling confident. And then they got completely crushed in game two. And so that right off the bat, that got crossed out. Then we went into Sunday where I said that the Texans would cover the spread against the Colts. I believe it was like around a 10-point spread.
Right.
And I think I might have even picked them outright. Just in
you
terms
did,
of,
yes, you did, sir. You didn't. Don't think you did. Yes,
coming off the performance they had put together against the New England Patriots. Davis Mills came off what was his best, game as a pro, obviously as a rookie, and it completely backfired. They looked back like how they did whenever they competed with the Buffalo Bills, completely lopsided, unable to put together consecutive drives, and really couldn't really have any takeaways from them. So they ended up losing. I can't even remember the final score. I know it was more than 10, and it was not even as close as whatever the final score was.
31-3, sir. 31-3, I believe was the final score.
Exactly. That one field goal drive of offense just was not going to cut it. And then, so I was 0 for 3 on those predictions. But you know what? The Astros turned it around, so we'll stick with that, even though they didn't go to Boston with a 2-0 series lead.
And I'm going to give you the floor. You got the platform, Andy.
Oh,
so don't forget this. I'm going to give you some time to discuss even further, if you want to, the Houston Astros.
ooh, man! I wish we could have James on this segment because I'm sure he'd be thrilled with taking time today to speak Astros. I mean, you know what? I mean, when you talk about the Astros, if we're gonna do a basketball comparison, and it's not apples to apples, but you might be able to compare them to the Golden State Warriors in their era, just literally the last 5 years when they were constantly battling for championships. Obviously, the Astros have only won one World Series in that span, and under a lot of asterisks around it, whether how big of an impact the cheating scandal had to do with that. And overall, they've only made it to 2 World Series appearances, on the verge of making their third in, I believe, 5 years. But I think you saw that with just the way that they lost those game 2, game 3, really lopsided. We're talking about the Texans. Game 2 and game 3 of that ALCS was a completely lopsided, dominant offensive performance by the Boston Red Sox. Really, Houston had not been able to get anything from their starting pitchers. And then they go into a must win Game 4 with Zach Greinke, who has had issues with, whether it be his arm or really he has not been able to provide long stretches or pitch any more than 2 or 3 innings at most since I believe it was like, whether I can't remember specifically if it was early September or late August, but they give him the start. He only goes, just over an inning. He doesn't even complete 2 full innings. They turn the ball to their bullpen, and really the kind of the star of the show is Christian Javier for the Astros, who went about 3 innings during the middle of the game. They held that Boston Red Sox offense to about to 2 runs. I believe it was 2-1 for most of that game. And then in the 8th inning, or actually no, at the top of the 9th inning, they just completely turned it around when they put together a 7. They put up 7 runs at the top of the 9th inning and really blew open that game. And then they carried it over to Game 5. Similar thing where it was 1-0 for a majority of the game, and then they turned it on late, and now they're in a really good position to close it out. They get 2 chances to close it out at home, which, like I said, they're on the verge of getting to their 3rd World Series in the past 5 years.
Bravo, Andy. For most of that, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. I think he's right. Jala, if you haven't seen any of our previous Folks Talking Sports shows, I couldn't care less about baseball. If it disappeared tomorrow, it'd be fine with me. But I'm going to, give the floor to Andy, and hopefully James can join us again next week. And you be sure and let James know, Andy, about your segment discussing the Houston Astros. If you want to do a little snippet post on Twitter later, post that clip, that segment of your discussing the Houston Astros, so people know, wow, Kris allowed baseball on Folks Talking Sports. Yes, I did. I don't mind other people talking about baseball. I just don't want to talk baseball. That's all I'm saying. But for both of you, Astros, Red Sox, Game 6, Friday, the Juice Box, 7 o'clock. Rockets, OKC, Friday, 7 o'clock, Toyota Center. Where do you think the fans' interest will be? As if I don't know.
We got video.
Oh, can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, well, whatever you did, it worked. So, okay, Jala, you first. Who do you think the fans will pay attention to more? Astros, Red Sox, or Rockets, OKC?
Man, this is hard. I'm inclined to say Astros, the Astros game. But I don't know. I'm really excited. I'm personally going to watch the Rockets game.
See, Andy, that's why she's part of the show now. Because she likes basketball more than baseball. See, there we go. I knew I was smart for bringing her on the show. There we go right there. Thank you, Jala.
There is a lot of excitement, for me at least, about this new Rockets team. So it's gonna be interesting to see where the attention is more.
Andy, what are you gonna say? Go ahead.
No, I mean, for sure, the bulk of there's Houston sports fans that'll be watching the Astros and the Red Sox now. Of course, there's the diehard Rocket fans that are going to be watching the Houston OKC opener, and honestly, a good bulk of those diehard Rocket fans will be at the Toyota Center game anyways. But yeah, I would say probably 70% of Houston will be watching the Astros Red Sox game.
I mean, for the diehard Rocket fans, it might be their best shot at a win for a while.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest about that. According to my predictions, Andy was a little bit more optimistic. Oh, that's right. You picked them to beat Minnesota, didn't you?
Yeah, that was completely lopsided.
So did you watch any of the game?
I did get good portions. I watched more of the second half than the first half. By the time I had tuned in, they were already down 20 points. But a couple of snippets there. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on just what you saw overall. From what I took away is obviously I guess if we want to start with high, it's got to be Şengün with the flashes he showed. I mean, man, his playmaking, he's not afraid to try a couple of crazy type of passes. I think that's going to be interesting to watch him develop. I think I see when you talk about Jalen Green, who is the number 2 pick, he had a bit of a I don't know if you can say a letdown for his debut, but I mean, I think I saw a couple of snippets post game where he talked about how how physical the Minnesota Timberwolves were in defending him, and it's still an adjustment period for him. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts from it, Kris.
Well, I got post game. Post game is from Jalen Green, Coach Silas, and all 43 seconds of Christian Wood's post game press conference. Yes, 43 seconds is available on my YouTube channel at Houston Roundball Review. He answered 2 questions, and that was it. Jalen talked about 4 or 5 minutes, but Jalen and Kevin Porter Jr. both did not shoot the ball well. I think Jalen was about 4 for 14 from the floor, but he did not have any turnovers. So that's a step in the right direction. That's good. But yes, he talked about the physicality of it. And he said that a few times now when he has spoken to media post game against the Raptors, the Heat teams are trying to be physical with him. And he's, said a couple times now, I'm 19 years old. This is a grown man's league. My time will come. I understand how it is right now. But Jala, what are your thoughts on the Rockets' youth? Do you think they should just continue with the youth plan or sprinkle in more veterans to maybe help them win more games this season?
Yeah, so I think it's important to keep the core young, but it would be very helpful, obviously, to add those veterans. I'm not too worried after this loss, honestly. It was their first minute, a lot of people's first minutes in the actual season in the league. So I don't know. I'm a little bit optimistic, but I think some veterans would help. I like the youth, though. I like it.
Okay, 82-game season, Jala. How many wins out of 82 would you predict for the Rockets? No pressure.
I honestly, I don't think they're gonna win too much. I want to say at least half to 50 to 60.
Oh, come on, Jala. Come on. Whoa. Come on. Now, see.
50 games.
No way.
50%?
No, 41 and 41. I said,
that's way too high.
Yeah. Yeah, Andy said 31.
I was optimistic, and I was 31 when we looked at the schedule rundown.
And I said 21.
I'm going to give them, 30-40. I want to keep 30 to 40.
Okay, you need to be part of my Rockets talk on YouTube with the Rockets fans because they'll love you. They'll love your optimism completely. I mean, they want you to be regular on the show. So because the most that I think Rocket fans have said during the live streams, 33 for sure. That's been a constant. There may have been a couple fans, they're really diehard fans, who really believe the Rockets will get into the play-in part of it. So they are leaning more toward with you, 30 to 40, and I just don't see it. But let's just talk about this. We're going to toss it out there. Andy sent me the tweet. Daryl Morey was on radio station in Philadelphia. I don't know the name of the host, so my apologies there. Basically, Daryl said to Ben Simmons fans, buckle up. It's going to be a long ride. He's not in any hurry to trade Ben Simmons. This is after Ben Simmons pulled, and was it a stunt? Do you think Ben showed up to practice with the phone in his warm-up pants, getting kicked out of practice? Is it all a stunt? Or is Ben mentally not ready to deal with the Sixers yet?
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, Andy. Yes, why? Yes, sir. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't catch it. Real quickly, you said Daryl Morey was on a radio station. It was 975 The Fanatic. I don't know if it's 975 or 99, however they call it, but it's 975 The Fanatic in Philadelphia. And like you mentioned, he's ready to drag it out. He said it could potentially last all 4 years of Ben Simmons' contract while they're in the middle of Embiid's prime, which was an interesting statement. And regarding your question about, do I think that Ben Simmons is staging all this behavior to try to force a trade? Yeah, for sure. I think so. I mean, today I think there was a report where he showed up. He complained about having back tightness. Philadelphia 76ers staff took a look at him. They cleared him to do the workout that he was supposed to do, and he didn't do it. And apparently, I think I saw another report. I think credit to Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams, who've been real on top of it. But he's supposed to come to the facility on Friday tomorrow for Philadelphia, and similar thing I'd imagine to participate. And I think they have. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they probably have a game tomorrow.
They have a game tomorrow, yes.
But I can't remember who it was, but they're scheduled to have Ben Simmons go into the facility for, I don't know if it's for a workout or if it's for something. And I believe they said that his status for tomorrow's game, which I have a hard time finding him playing in that game after with everything that's happened. But it certainly seems like a lot of turmoil. And there's not really much you can compare to. Usually when a player wants out, I mean, even if you go back to last season with the way James Harden staged it, I mean, once he showed up and kind of made it clear when he had that the press conference with reporters where, I'm getting ahead of myself. I think when he said that they just weren't good enough. Yes. Was following the one of the Laker games when they had gotten shellacked. But even then, prior to that, he had shown up. He talked to reporters. You didn't see anything like this where him staging or not participating in any activities. And he actually played in the games. Now there were points during the game where you could tell, especially on defense, if they would question if he was trying his best. But you can't compare it to this level. Ben Simmons has taken it to a whole different stratosphere, in my opinion. And I mean, at the end of the day, his goal is to get traded, and certainly seems like he's hell bent on figuring out a way to force Philadelphia to send him somewhere else.
Jala, what do you think about Ben Simmons' situation? Do you think does he have back issues, or is he going to have a hamstring issue? That's hard to prove. Hamstrings are hard to prove. So what do you think this is headed, Jala?
Yeah, I think he's just over it. Like Andy said, he's ready to go. It looks like he may be tired of the offense or the team being catered to Joel. I don't know if he wants to go somewhere else where he can shoot more, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if there's any back pain, any future hamstring pain. I think he's just ready to go.
He is. And Andy, Jala, I think, Daryl Morey can say what he wants to say publicly. This could go on 4 years. That's posturing. At some point, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, the players on the team are going to go to Daryl, Doc, look, we don't want him here. He doesn't want to be here. Y'all get whatever you can for him. Get his behind out of here. Y'all are making this harder on us, but y'all ain't playing. So let's move on. It's clear he doesn't want to be here. We don't want him here. Y'all are trying to convince him, believe in some miracle hope that Ben is going to see the light and all of a sudden have an epiphany. Maybe it's not so bad. Yeah, I think I am going to stay in Philadelphia. Forgive everything I said in the past few weeks. I didn't really mean it. Doc, what you said about me back in the playoffs, I know you didn't mean it. I forgive you. Come on. That's not going to happen. So Daryl Morey is trying to save face. Ben Simmons, yes, he's going to lose money. Okay. Ben Simmons already made enough money. He can wait. It's a lot of money to us because, I haven't made it. I may not make that money in my lifetime. Y'all young enough to maybe get to that level. And I hope you do. But come December, when more people are available, via trade, I think Daryl Morey's his tune may change. Well, after consideration, we just realized it's best for both parties going forward that we agreed to trade Ben to Team X, and we welcome the players we got in return and to help us in our quest to win a championship. It'd be just like Daryl wants us to forget what he said. It'll be a quick 4 years come December or January. We're local, Houston Roundball Review. There was some big news involving, what should we call Rice, as we are 3 products of the University of Houston. I mean, I guess they're rivals. I mean, I guess, whatever. But they have been invited to the American Athletic Conference officially. Andy, Jala. Andy, I know where you stand on this. Jala, I want to get your thoughts on Commissioner Mike Oresco's Power 6 mantra, dream, hope, desire, wish, that he's clinging to it, that the conference is Power 6, and darn it, if y'all as in everybody else, y'all don't want to say we're Power 6, well, I'm going to say it until y'all believe it. What do you say about all that?
I don't know. I don't believe it. I was surprised to hear it. I don't know. I think it's exciting for women's basketball and volleyball, but when it comes to Rice, but I don't know. I'm not bought in to the whole Power 6.
Do you know, Andy, Jala, do y'all know anybody personally who was bought into the Power 6?
Nope.
Nope. All the time U of H, they still are part of the American for 2 more years, unfortunately, which was just 1. But, even covering U of H, I haven't really heard anybody at U of H. P6, baby. Power 6. Correct me if I'm wrong. Have you heard that from anybody at U of H?
Nope, no. And the goal has always been to get to one of those true Power 5 schools. And going back to that comment where, and Kris, I always forget who said it, but they said it's clear that, the American Mike Oresco likes to brand that conference as Power 6, but not only is everyone else not buying it, but the school members themselves aren't buying it. That's the reason UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston are on their way out.
That was Craig Thompson, commissioner of the Mountain West Conference, and a few minutes early, but he's joining us from the Roost. Matthew, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. All right, so we're going to go to him now, and for my Rocket fans tuning in on via YouTube, come back to the channel Saturday for our Rockets talk, because we're going to talk conference realignment a lot these next few minutes. And some of y'all may be like, oh man, Kris, why are you doing that? Well, it's part of Folks Talking Sports. We're going to just cover the gamut of sports and not just Rockets. So bringing in Matthew Bartlett and Jala. I know you said you wanted to leave. You say bye when you're ready to say bye. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for figuring out whatever glitches were affecting you. But thank you for joining us, and we look forward to have you on again. But stick around as long as you can, okay? Without further ado, from the Roost, Matthew Bartlett. How are you, my man?
Hey, Kris. I'm good. I'm ready for a break. It's been a busy week.
Man, okay. That's a great starting point. And first, do you know Andy Yanez or Jala Mason? Have y'all met at all in covering local matchups between Rice and U of H?
I don't think yet, so. But yeah, good to meet y'all.
For sure.
So we're all connected via Twitter. So with the news of today, I reached out to Matthew and see if he could, last minute really, see if he could join us on the show tonight, and he agreed. And so let's get into it. Okay, when did you, and let me say this, Andy, I hope you remember last week during the show that I mentioned during the show about Rice being in the AAC. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I didn't understand that.
And look at my phone is talking to me. How about that? Isn't that something? I don't know. Like I said, a magic word. I don't know. My phone remembered it, Andy. My phone heard it.
I think your phone does.
But you don't remember I said that Rice in the AAC, and if they don't get invited to the AAC, I'm not sure where they're going to go.
Yeah, you did mention it.
Okay, we could go. See, you don't need Beck McMurphy. You don't need Pete Thamel and all these other people, these national folks. I do it right here locally sometimes. I know a little bit. But Matthew, seriously, describe it, man, these last few days. When did you get a sense this was going to happen? Rice to the AAC.
So it's one of those things that obviously there's been scuttle about Rice and a lot of teams trying to move. Basically, everybody in Conference USA wanted out, right? And that's been the case since that domino rolled with Texas and Oklahoma. It was pretty evident that something was going to happen down the line. So it's probably when did that happen? Was like early July, mid-July, something
Mid-July.
like that. Mid-July. So at that point, that was kind of the first indicator that something was probably going on afoot. I first caught wind that this was probably going to be reality, probably close to over the weekend. And so at that point, it was okay. And then once the Thamel tweet got out and news started to solidify, I kept hearing from a couple different folks that we were getting closer and closer to having everything signed and official. But yeah, once word broke on Monday, had a pretty reliable folks that telling me that this was not smoke. This was going to go down.
What do you think? How does it benefit Rice, in your opinion? Does it benefit Rice first?
I mean, it's a slam dunk. If nothing else, you're quadrupling the money aspect of what you can do and invest in your program, right? The Conference USA payout was pittance, and now you're getting at least $2 million a year with the hope that can get renegotiated and go upward. So that's a win. Second is just from a geographic perspective. If you look at, I don't think divisions have officially been released, but outside of Navy, who's probably going to be in Rice's division on the West, everybody else is within, I think Tulsa will be the farthest team away. And that's like an hour in 10-minute flight, maybe. So that's a lot easier than flying out to, Norfolk or El Paso or any of those. So it makes a lot of sense regionally. It makes a lot of sense financially. Pretty much the best case scenario for Rice.
Have you got a sense? What's the mood among Rice alums? Will this renew interest in bringing the fans back to to the games at Rice?
I think it has to help to some degree. I think there's been a large portion of the fan base that is kind of fed up with Conference USA. The TV deal, for one, a lot of these fans, Rice has a pretty diverse alumni base. A lot of these fans just don't live in Houston. And so going to the games on a weekly basis is kind of tough. So being on even on ESPN Plus weekly and getting some of the TV deals through basketball with CBS that'll happen are going to be huge. And nobody wants to try and find games on Facebook. And that's kind of where things have been. It hadn't been quite that bad all the time, but visibility is going to be huge. And then playing more prominent and more interesting teams. Like, people are going to go see Rice play SMU. Like, when basketball comes around, Rice and Wichita State, that's going to be a fun game. I mean, no offense to FIU, but like, there's a lot of teams that Rice is crossing over with that there just wasn't a lot of fan interest in.
If you offend, you offend, man. That's all right. We're not shy on folks talking sports, but that's reality. A lot of the problems in college sports, especially on the G5, the lower level, is teams and conferences fans just don't want to see. There aren't rivalries to spark the interest for fans of their school. For the most part, the rivalries just aren't there. So that hurts attendance. That hurts interest. And at some point, money stops going in.
You're right. Because the biggest critique I've really had with Conference USA, like the media deal, everyone's going to bring that up, but there's not enough hate. Like, people didn't want. There was not enough anger of like, man, I hope we really beat Team X because I want them to lose. Like, you want your team to win always, but when you're playing a game and you want the other team to lose, like, that just adds a little bit more interest and motivation. And like, people are going to be excited when you bring back a bunch of the Southwest Conference rivalries and a bunch of older, like the connection Rice has to Navy and the military academies. Like, that's just going to naturally be more interesting. Like, Middle Tennessee, no. Western Kentucky, no. Louisiana Tech, no.
That's reality, and the commissioner of Conference USA, Judy, I thought her last name was McLeod, but I heard today it was like McLeod.
I've heard every pronunciation.
Yeah, and I was like,
McLeod.
I mean, already I think the letter that went public to Michael Resco about basically an alliance, was a final straw, I think, for the current member schools of Conference USA. She lost her mind. so it wasn't.
I mean, if you read the letter, it wasn't a bad idea. It makes a lot of sense.
It does.
And Mike Orozco said, "Yeah, that's a lot of sense. We'll just take all the teams we want and keep the money too." And that's kind of how that went.
And in your opinion, and Andy, Jala as well, what happens to Conference USA? Is the conference dead? They're going to be rated by the Sun Belt. What do you think is going to happen to Conference USA? Or do you care anymore? What do you say, Matthew? Do you care? Do you care anymore? We got 2 years. Do you care?
Well, it's not going to die. I know that's like people thought the Big 12 was going to go die, and it didn't. It went down to the next level. It went to the AAC and grabbed a couple schools. The reality is the exit fees for Conference USA are right around $3 million. You got 6 schools leaving. There's been talk about Marshall possibly leaving, Southern Miss on the way out. You're racking up $25 million nest egg for the schools left. And the schools that are there, like Conference USA still has an auto bid to the men's basketball tournament, which like whether or not other folks outside of Conference USA care or not, like that matters. So schools are not just going to go independent just because there's only 6 of them. They'll go find, I know James Madison with the FCS has been talked about. They're not too far away from Old Dominion. They'll go grab somebody, whether or not it's a New Mexico State. Like if they want to, they can go reach out to the WAC, the new WAC, Sam Houston. Like there's enough programs. Yeah, it's not going to be as robust as Conference USA was, or I guess is right now in 2021, but it's better to have a poor man's Conference USA if you're UTEP or if you're FIU than to try and go the UMass route, because I think we've seen the UMass route and it's not pretty.
Andy, what are your thoughts on what Matthew just said?
No, I found it interesting, honestly, especially with like you said that they're losing 6 schools, but when you hear that, you'd imagine, like you said, you're gonna have a lot of people saying that the conference is gonna be dead, but I guess the way he explained it certainly makes a lot more sense for those remaining schools to want to stick together, especially like you mentioned with the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. That's something that'll be appealing, and I'm not exactly too aware of any TV deals that Conference USA might have or anything like that, but maybe that's something that could lure in, like you mentioned, some of the other, whether it be an FCS school or some other lower levels schools that are in different lower level conferences. That could be something that attracts them, but I found that surprising.
And Matthew and Andy, in case you don't know, because Jayla, I want to get your thoughts on this as well. You mentioned it. The deal for Conference USA schools is mere pittance. It's like what, $500,000, right?
Something like that, ballpark.
Yeah. Okay. To think about that, Andy, Jayla. See, it was $500,000 to each school. Okay. So Matthew makes a great point. The exit fees that they're going to get from the 6 schools leaving, heck, maybe even 8 schools leaving, times 3 million is possibly $24 million. So the schools that stay, they'll make more money from the exit fees than they would get from Conference USA's current deals. And they've been on Facebook. And they touted that proudly as a way. And this was football games, right, Matthew? Some of the football games were on Facebook.
There's some football games. Yep. I had a couple.
Man, no.
There was the NFL Network. They announced in 2019, they announced a 5-year deal with the NFL Network that mysteriously disappeared after 1 year.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Everyone did. It just kind of got swept under the rug.
So, J-Lo, as a sports writer at the Daily Cougar, what are your thoughts on Rice, the American Athletic Conference, just the whole conference realignment issue?
I think the AAC will be obviously not the same, but I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be okay.
Mike Oresco loves you.
He was out there touting Power 6 today.
Yeah.
Always.
Still.
Yeah, always.
It's not going to be the same, but there's still some, Memphis is there.
For now.
For
now.
Yeah, for now. So I just want to say, for now. I don't want to be too pessimistic.
I think to add on to her point, like when you look at the Conference USA schools that are going to be joining the American, like certainly for them, they see it as a big upgrade. And when you look over the American, and really I'm talking about SMU and Memphis specifically, those two schools probably, I don't know, I feel like they wouldn't be necessarily as excited as maybe some of the other schools in the American Athletic Conference. Like essentially it's kind of like a different perspective depending on where you are, especially when you look at Memphis. I'm sure they're saying it as like, oh, we're trying to figure out a new conference to jump to eventually.
But okay, some reports, Matthew, please chime in with this if you know more. Some reports are saying that the current, Memphis, SMU, the current school still in the AAC, will receive more TV money than the new 6 that are joining the conference. What are your thoughts on that, Matthew? And how long will that last? I mean, how long will everybody be happy about that?
Well, Oresco kind of purposely was very vague when it came to talking about numbers today regarding those. The gist that I've kind of heard is that it's going to be that reduced payout for the CUSA 6, at least initially. But I believe more than likely, and you're going to see this with the Big 12, and again, it's going to be a trickle down with everything. As conference membership changes, there's going to be some negotiations going on with those contracts. The Big 12 contract obviously is not the same if Texas and Oklahoma are not playing in those games. It's going to be the same thing at the AAC if you're losing Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, those bigger brands. So there's going to be Oresco seemed pretty confident that the numbers were going to be close to the same. I think the general consensus on that in the media is a bit more pessimistic. He flat out said those reports were a lie when talking with us earlier today. So believe who you want to believe. I think initially the new schools are going to be receiving a little bit less, but like you said, we said earlier, that's 4 times what they're getting right now. So I'm sure they would love to be up to the $6-7 million a year that everybody else is getting. But man, $2 million when you're broke sounds pretty good. And these schools aren't broke, but it's all relative, right? So I think at some point down the line, I don't think this is going to turn into a the old Big 12 where Texas gets what they want and everybody else gets pennies. But I do think we'll probably start out maybe unequal and hopefully for Rice's sake, as things progress, get closer to everybody panning out towards the same.
See, that's time will tell, because Memphis, SMU, I think the current deal, the payouts will increase to maybe $7 million per for them. Well, I mean, that was the old deal before UConn left, and now Cincinnati, UCF, Houston leave. Mike Oresco and Jala Mason need to get together and talk about optimism, because Mike Oresco is the most positive. Well, apparently Jala is second now, most positive and optimistic person I know. Commissioner Oresco, he is firm. He's adamant that the TV money will be the same. It's not going to decrease. He's the only person who believes that, who said it. I just, good luck to him. I mean, he is commissioner of the American, but how can it not go down when you're losing 3 of your biggest TV market and fan bases? Okay, Mike Oresco, I mean, if he pulls it off, man, he's a wizard.
I mean, he's making a bet, right? Like the bet when the AAC was formed out of realignment chaos was these schools that were not desired would kind of build up their brand with the AAC. And like UCF is a great example. UCF didn't exist as a brand when they were initial members and joining in the AAC. And now everybody knows who UCF is. You know, depending on who you are, they did or didn't win a national championship a couple years ago. Like that matters, and that raises the status of the AAC. And that's kind of the bet that he did with these programs, right? You look at UAB in Birmingham and UTSA in San Antonio, Rice in Houston. You know, it's a mix of programs that did enough financially to commit to say, hey, we're serious about this. UAB, UTSA, you've seen that on the field. And the goal, his wager is we can do it again. We can make UAB the next UCF. And if we do that, then the revenue is going to follow. But like you mentioned, if he doesn't, then you have 12 of the current members of the new 14 team, or I guess 15 team AAC were Conference USA members at one point.
So I haven't seen it on Twitter, but has anybody started referring to the American as what should I say? Conference USA 3.0?
I've seen 2.0. I guess 2.0 was really after the AAC rated the
right.
Conference USA the first time. I've seen 3.0. I've seen 2.5. Whatever number you want to throw on it.
And this is a football move. My main sport is basketball. So, you know, asking Coach Scott Perez, men's coach, his thoughts. And he was ironic. Matthew, I'm not sure if you were on the call back in the summer. I think you were. And he hinted at then that more realignment was forthcoming. He didn't think it was going to be this, but so, I mean, it's amazing how your perspective changes depending on where you are. The new additions to the American, love the American. Think it's the greatest thing. U of H, Cincinnati, UCF, yeah. That's behind us now. That's beneath us. We love the Big 12. So
Houston can't wait to jump to move to be made official. I mean, they're already branding it every chance they get.
And I forgot. I think it was Chris Benini with the Athletic. I didn't know this, but apparently the cheerleading squad for Cincinnati, in maybe a game 2 weeks ago, ran onto the field with a Big 12 flag.
Oh.
And that did not go well over with the AAC, and Commissioner Resco did not attend whatever the game was after that at Cincinnati. So I wonder, and Matthew, I wonder if you have any thought on this, how quickly you'll see Rice Athletics start appearing without Conference USA in their images, in their banners, in their backdrops.
I think Rice has always been one that they don't rock the boat, right? Like they're not going to be the ones that are making, like, outside of the mob. I wouldn't put it past the mob to do something that's going to get them yelled at. But the administration, the athletic program, I would be shocked if you see them with the first people out with the AAC logos. It just not kind of their style. So we'll see. I guess
U of H already has done that. Right, Andy?
Yeah, well, I think all you have to do is look is who's in charge of both programs, and that kind of paints a picture of how they're going to handle the situation.
So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting. I was, from a basketball perspective, and let me ask you this, Matthew. Have you gotten a comment quote from Coach Edmonds yet on the women's side?
No, I haven't heard yet. She wasn't on the call earlier today. I think it might all be gravy to her. More exposure is nice, but I guess she's only been here for a couple of months now at this point. So for her, a conference game against Old Dominion is about the same as a conference game against Navy or who have you. Like they're all new. Okay,
it's time for guarantees. Matthew, do the Owls play football game this weekend?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, hold that thought. Jala, U of H plays East Carolina, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Andy, do you feel confident in this one to put a guarantee on it? Andy?
Houston ECU. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Because my question, Matthew, for you is going to be the opposite, because I'm not sure it matters who Rice is playing, but you tell me if you're going to guarantee a Rice win or guarantee a Rice loss. We'll get to that in a second. Hold on. So, Andy, Jala, pull up if you can the betting line for U of H ECU. Andy, I know you got ways to figure that kind of stuff out real quickly, which kind of scares me because you know where to go real quick on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I literally just found the odds.
Okay, so what we got?
Houston is favored by 13.5 points against East Carolina on Saturday.
Okay, question to Andy and Jala. Will Houston beat East Carolina by more than 13.5 points?
Jala, you can take it first.
Okay, so based off of, I know we're coming off a bye, but if we continue this momentum, I want to say yes.
Okay, you want to say yes, but are you saying yes?
Yes, I would say yes.
Okay, are you firm enough in that being a guarantee?
Yeah, I'll guarantee it. You said more than 13?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Say it.
I guarantee that Houston will beat East Carolina by more than 13.
There we go.
Guarantee.
Hope I don't regret that.
Okay. Andy, do you second that?
Yeah, for sure. I second. I guarantee.
Guarantee.
ECU. I'll take the. I think Houston covers. I think I'll take the over that they beat them by more than 2 touchdowns, or at least the 2 touchdowns. But coming off the bye, from what I've seen in games past, ECU has put up. They've been a lot more.
Matthew, he's hedging already. He's hedging on his guarantee already.
I'm not hedging. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if it's a much tougher game, but I still expect at the end of the day for Houston to at least finish with a 2 touchdown lead. Although it might be similar to the Tulane game where they struggled for about the first half and then were able to finally pull away in the third quarter.
Okay, so are you changing it or not?
That defense is legit. Houston's defense. So are
you changing it? Is it still a guarantee? Andy, is it still a guarantee?
No. I'm sticking with my guarantee. Over 14. Guarantee.
Okay.
Cover. Win by
Matthew, who does Rice play this week?
Rice got defending conference champion UAB.
Well, is that a guarantee? It's a loss? Do you want to put it out like that?
Here's the thing. This is what I tell people. Rice has been, the past couple of years, consistency has not been their MO. Like, they're not a consistent program. But they are a resilient program. The team that shows up next week, they put whatever happened last week behind them. They got bushwhacked by a bad North Texas team last year on the road, and then went on the road the very next game against undefeated number 15 in the country, Marshall, that hadn't lost a game in that stadium in the history of their program, and shut them out 20-0. It just doesn't make sense. Nobody saw it coming, and that's kind of been this team. Like, they just, if they get behind early, they just kind of have been put to sleep. But if they get out and throw the first punch, they've shown they can hang with people they have no business hanging with. They played Arkansas closer than Texas A&M and Texas through the first 3 quarters, and those are some good football programs. So I don't know, man. It could be just an absolute onslaught, or this could be a game where we have the same thing with national media tweeting out wait, is UAB losing to Rice by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter? Anything in between, I would not be shocked.
Okay, so no guarantee on that one?
No guarantees whatsoever either way.
Fair enough. Wrap it up with you just in a few minutes. Quincy Oliveri was named to, I don't know if this is new for this season, but Conference USA did, they named 10, 11 players for their preseason team, which I hate. Just pick a team.
They did that with the football too. They just kind of nominated, I think every coach got to pick 5 guys and said, this is our all-conference honorees. No, put it on a roster, make people first and second.
Yeah, but Quincy Oliveri, he was named Conference USA preseason team honoree, so good for him. And Matthew, Andy, Jala, I strongly urge you all to be back on the show around November 11th or 13th, because I do believe, what is it, the 12th, where U of H and Rice play?
So I don't
Basketball?
have the date, but I know there's a game.
I think it's the 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday the 12th, November
Let me
12th.
check that real quick.
Matthew, I'd like to have you on, let's see, if I can make it on the Thursday. How about, let's see, what is that?
Right.
November 11th. Could you join us and preview that matchup between Rice and U of H men's basketball?
Yeah, we should be able to make that work. I'll have to
Okay.
check, but yeah, sounds good.
And see, Matthew, now that you've accepted one time to be on the show, I'm going to try to bring you on a few more times to talk Rice athletics. So
Sure.
you're part of the family now, man. So welcome. And same with you, Jala, you're part of the family now. So Matthew, first with you, how can folks find you, get in touch with you on all those platforms and social media?
Yeah, the website's The Roost. You can find it at theroost.com. We're on all the socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the same olds. And then for those Owls fans out there who want the inside scoop, especially with injuries, practice notes, everything else going on, any late breaking news, conference affiliation changes, we got a Patreon too. So we're there. We got everything covered for Rice athletics. It's football right now. Like you mentioned, it's almost basketball season, so we'll be there next. But at The Roost, go find us everywhere. We're out there.
Thanks very much, Matthew, for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Take care, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
Awesome. This is what I'm talking about. There we go. And another young lady has been able to join us. Let's see if we can bring her up. She was doing some, well, let her discuss it, work. Tamer Nige.
Hi guys, I'm off the record, but I'm here.
Okay, so you got taken care of what you need to take care of?
Yes, very long day, but I'm sorry I'm late. I saw he did his exit. I must be really late.
No. He couldn't stay the whole time, so he was good to join us there. Jala, do you know Tamer?
I do.
Yes, of course.
Excuse me, I have to ask for the audience. You know, the audience may not know that. Okay. Boy, get two women on here, man. Andy, we're in trouble, man. I mean, we're outnumbered 2-2. Tamer,
I'm here.
what are your thoughts on HBU women's basketball being picked second in the Southland Conference this season?
Why wouldn't they be? I thought they had a pretty solid. I thought they had a pretty solid team last season. So I'm sticking. I told you that off of the air, and I'm sticking with my decision.
Okay. Well,
I mean, they have Tamia Jefferson. She led the conference last season, and was it points or stealing or something? I mean, Kennedy Wilson. He's the star of the team, if you ask me. They're all there still, and there's a couple people on there that can hoop. I'm not gonna lie. And A&M Corpus Christi, although that's my alma mater, I just don't see it happening for them this season.
and of course, I'm going to mention that Tamer, it's official, right? I can make it public. Your new role with HBU.
Yeah, we already talked about it on here before.
So yes, she'll be calling the women's basketball games. Correct? When does that start for you?
First game is November 14th. So super nervous and excited about that. Any Husky fans here, make sure y'all tune in. Go easy on me. It's my first time doing play-by-play. Not my first time, but I mean my first time doing play-by-play for basketball.
And who is that opponent that HBU will be facing?
On November 14th?
Yes.
You caught me off guard. If you would have asked me about the Baylor
That's
game,
what I do to you. Apparently, I'm always here to throw you
if you would have
curveball.
asked me about the Baylor game, I could have told you some information. That's the game I'm most excited about.
Why? That's going to be a rout.
Well, the first game yeah, it's going to be a blowout, but who doesn't love a tough non-conference schedule? First home game is against St. Thomas at Sharps Gym, but they play November 9th at TCU. So that should be an interesting matchup as well.
And when's your first game assignment, play-by-play?
November 14th, St. Thomas.
Okay, so you'll be going against a former Rice assistant coach, Coach Jay Cross. I think Coach Cross is still at St. Thomas, coaching their team. See, I'm throwing names out. Y'all don't even know. I've been around a long time doing this stuff. So, Jayla, are you trying to leave us? What are you trying to do with your gadgetry?
Yes, I'm getting calls now. I do have to hop off.
Okay, that's no problem at all. Thank you very much. Real quickly, just let folks know how they can find you on social media.
Yeah, so my Twitter is my name backwards. It's going to be Mason Jala. It's Instagram and Facebook or just Jala Mason.
Thank you very much. And like I said moments ago, you're part of the family now. So we look forward to have you,
Thank you so much.
on future Folks Talking Sports. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Jayla.
All right.
Did I miss the conversation about Ben Simmons?
A little bit.
Yeah.
You
kinda
have,
did.
you
Was
have
it a good
some
one?
thoughts to share? It's Folks Talking Sports, Tamer. Of course it was a good one. Yes.
Andy, what are your thoughts?
Oh no, Chris asked if we felt like everything that Ben Simmons was doing was intentional, trying to force his way out of Philadelphia in terms of, coming into practice with. I know it was reported where it looked like he had a phone in his pocket and sweats, and then even today where he said that he had a back tightness and he had the Philadelphia staff check on him. They cleared him to do a workout. He didn't do it, and now he's set to meet with Philadelphia organization on Friday right before they have their second game of the season, which in all likelihood he won't play for that game either. So, yeah, for sure, I feel like he's trying to force his way, and honestly, he's at a point where he's willing to do almost anything to get out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I saw that. It said that I know you mentioned that he showed up and got cleared to play today, well, practice. But I read that there was no practice today for Philadelphia. So
Right. No, for Philadelphia, they didn't have a team practice. It was for
Right.
Ben Simmons individually who had to do a workout. Since he didn't get to play in the first game, I believe he didn't even travel with the team.
I think he's definitely trying to do whatever it takes to get out of there.
Do you agree with that? Do you think
I
he
mean,
should do
I
that?
don't like I think it puts a bad taste in other people's mouth about, the way he's handling the situation. But at the same time, you have to look at it from everybody's point of view, and maybe he's just really unhappy or uncomfortable there. If it was I would, show up, be on time, but I would also make it known that, hey, I want out. I don't want to be here. Let's make arrangements. But you got to show up and work. He's been fined so much money. And eventually that money's going to add up. And I don't know about him, but I'm about my coin.
I agree to a point with you. Both sides are at fault here. Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid tossed Ben under the bus after the playoff disaster, which, Ben needs to own and accept the fact that he had problems. He did not play well. He hurt the team with his poor performance, not shooting, foul line, fiasco. He was so afraid to go to the line. He did not want to attack the basket and get fouled to go there. But this is going to be messy for a while. I think he's going to still be dealt in December or January because I think Daryl Morey. Tamer, this is my thought on this. I think the players will eventually go to Daryl Morey, Elton Brand, who's still there, although folks forget about that, but go to them and say, we want him gone. He doesn't want to be here. We don't want him here. Trade is behind. Now, what are your thoughts on will it take the players to go to Daryl Morey to force a trade?
Well, yeah, because I think I saw an interview where Joel Embiid said that he was worried about focusing on the team and that building that chemistry amongst them so they could win. So I feel like if Simmons is showing up and bringing the energy down or bringing all of this negativity to the team, of course they don't want that around. The whole point of being on the team is everybody wants to win, and if Ben doesn't want to win with the Philadelphia 76ers, then hey, get him out of here.
That's my thing on it. I think it's inevitable. Daryl Morey is just he's clinging to some pipe dream. He wants Dame Lillard. He wants Damian. Go ahead.
And I mean, Simmons didn't really produce in the playoffs either. So I think for him to act in an arrogant way is it's not pleasing to the eye, considering there is some things that he could work on, and he's acting as if he's the not he is the prize of the entire 76ers team, and I don't think that's the case.
Agreed. I think that's where we are. Real quick on some things.
One more thing, Kyrie Irving.
Ahead.
What are we thinking?
He's being selfish. I mean, he's being selfish.
Andy, would you say selfish or?
Andy?
Well, for sure, he's certainly looking. You could describe it in a way in terms of him being selfish. I think I might be buffering a little bit, by the way.
Yep, you are, but just keep on talking, man.
Yep. Am I buffered? Did Tamer
just left. I guess this is a sign that maybe it's time to shut it down. But go ahead, finish your thought.
Yeah, for a second I thought that it was just so buffering that it made people leave. Yeah, she said, "Do I think that Kyrie Irving is being selfish?" And in a way, essentially, yeah, he is, because he's looking out for whatever the way he phrased it. It's not necessarily that he's anti-vax, but he's trying to make a point in terms of, not trying to, the way he phrased it, where he's having some moral battle where people are, taking away people's chance to have a choice.
He wants to be the voice for the voiceless. Yes.
Yeah, exactly, which is an interesting way to put it, and certainly some people could phrase it as certainly an arrogant way to at least the way he phrased it, where he's he's so in a position where he can be the voice of the voiceless for those that are being I guess not even taken advantage of, but just not being given a choice, or what the way he describes it. But so you could say it's selfish in that way, and certainly when you look at it from the Brooklyn Nets perspective, he's certainly not putting any championship aspirations or anything like that ahead of his own viewpoint, whatever that exactly that is. But I think the way the Brooklyn Nets handled it, honestly, it's a lot better than whatever Philadelphia's doing, where they said, you know what, this isn't something that we can control. It's a New York law that if he's not vaccinated, he's not going to be able to play for the season. So until he gets vaccinated, I mean, he's not going to be a part of the team, and they're not going to try to accommodate. There was a lot of talk before the actual regular season started where, you know what, maybe we'll be able to accommodate and have him just play in road games, which would be ridiculous because you can't go. It's an 82-game season. You can't have him play for 41 games and try to build a winning team or anything. Like, have the ultimate goal of winning a championship with having one of your players not even being available for half of your games. And you'd imagine that the Brooklyn Nets are going to be one of those top teams that have, home court advantage into the playoffs. And if he's not available for 4 games each series, I mean, what are you doing? So
right.
I feel like the Brooklyn Nets did the way they handled it. It's the way, honestly, Philadelphia should try doing it, where, you know what, we get it. You don't want to be a part of the team until we can find a trade partner. I mean, don't make it a circus. And that's kind of what the way Ben Simmons has done it. Certainly, I mean, this week with just everything that's happened. And that's my 2 cents on it.
Yep. And we're going to answer these rocket questions in just a second. My thing about Kyrie and his voice for the voiceless claim is he could do that and be vaccinated. Because of where he plays in New York, it's New York law, mandate, whatever, that you cannot participate unless you're vaccinated. So he knows that. There's nothing stopping him except him he could be vaccinated, get the shot, and then every day go to Instagram on his Instagram Live, IG Live, media, press conferences, whatever. Every day, explain, I got vaccinated, but I'm still going to talk about the people losing their jobs because of the mandates. He could do that every day.
Well, that will be kind of contradicting because
No. He said he wanted to be the voice for the voiceless.
Yeah, but how would he be the voice for the voiceless if he goes and get the vaccine? So then now he's a part of.
Okay, well then he's not being then he's not anti-vax then. He said he's not anti-vax.
I mean, I just think it's more so at this point. Is the vaccine really that crucial to you that you'll jeopardize your career? I mean, I feel like
so far it is for him.
Yeah, and I feel like, honestly, he's probably feel like he's played long enough. He has enough money to sustain for the rest of his, life on top of whatever endorsements may come once he retires. I just feel like he just if basketball is done, then basketball is done. I didn't get the part where he said he was trying to be the voice for the voices. I thought what I got from it was more so he wanted to have more research on, the vaccine, and instead of just jumping into it because that's something everybody else is doing, or that's what they're making or encouraging everybody else to do.
Well, I think that's part of his IG Live where he said in his statement, being voice for the voiceless, the research part of it, we're going on 2 years now. If you have and all the money and resources that he has available to him because of his pocketbook hasn't got enough research to get him to consider the vaccine, that's on him. That's more selfishness. Okay, I'm not cutting him slack for that kind of stuff. I'm just not. Good on Brooklyn for taking a stand. We got our players who are here. We're going to do battle with players who are here.
But can they win? Can Brooklyn?
No, I don't think they can. No, they can't.
I was going to say, can they win a championship without Kyrie Irving?
But see, you're hinting at Kyrie retiring and stuff. That's truly a personal decision, and that really is selfish. He's not thinking of the team or his teammates. So that's on him. Questions about Terry, Agent 299, KJ Martin starting a small forward for the Rockets. I don't see it. I mean, it's not House, Jason Tate, Eric Gordon. I've said it before. Eric Gordon should be coming off the bench. Coach Silas still believes in Daniel House. House had a baby girl, I think, born on Monday, so that's where his mind was for a week or so. That focus and her delivery, her birth. So maybe he'll become more focused on the court now that she's been born. So he'll be in that starting lineup there at the small forward spot he needs to produce. That will help. What was the other question? Kyrie in the whole season, boy. If he misses out the whole season, that's on him again. And at some point, if he does, I'll just say it like this: if he wants to do that, go ahead and say it. What's stopping him from doing that right now? October 21st. I don't see where this is going to end. I'm not going to change my mind. Brooklyn's not going to change their mind. So I think I'm just going to sit out the year, and we'll just resume this next season.
Yeah, I was going to say, what if he was to sit out the entire season? You think Brooklyn would bring him back next season?
Nope.
Yeah, they would probably want him out of there.
Yeah, and if they win without him,
they really want him out of there.
Exactly. Rocket fans tuning in are trying to take over our folks talking sports, but that's cool. We're going to close it out because I want y'all to come back on Saturday for Let's Talk Rockets, because we can really go at it and talk about the Rockets. But Chris, I want to talk about this, though.
That last comment right there. Is that what you were going to get at? If
Rockets
we get blown out by OKC,
yes, that's where I'm going with this.
No
yes.
hope.
Come on now.
Take it away, Chris.
No, there's plenty of hope. Well, my hope is different than y'all's hope because I only had them winning 21 games this year. So I didn't have a lot of hope for this season, and I'm not a fan. So y'all are fans. I'm media credentialed to cover the Rockets. They have shoot around tomorrow. Today's practice was canceled because they didn't arrive in town till late because of flight delays and fog and all those things. So they canceled practice. But OKC tomorrow, one young team against another young team, home game for the Rockets. I think, Andy, you and I picked this when we did the schedule predictions as a win for the Rockets. So, no. If they lose tomorrow 0-2, it's not going to kill them. That's not going to happen. The season 0-2 starting, not going to be a big deal. As long as Astros are dominating the sports scene in Houston, Rockets are fine. Rockets will be fine, just cruising along, winning, losing, whatever. But folks won't take notice.
They won't be the worst team in the city for a while.
You know, the Texans are the worst team in the city because the Texans don't even have a future. They're directionless.
Ooh,
You know,
Texas fans would not want to hear you say that.
Oh no, they agree with that.
That's the truth.
Most of them would agree.
Yeah, they have
They
no
would
direction.
agree. They don't have a future. Come on, they would.
They don't have direction. What is the direction?
Yeah, a lot of Texans fans, as long as honestly,
They're
a lot of them feel
loyal.
like as long as Cal. Not anymore. Not after what happened this past off season. Not only with JJ Watt leaving and all the roster turnover, but I mean even Deshaun Watson before all the civil lawsuits and all the allegations popped up. I mean, he wanted out before that. So
That's true.
a lot of Texan fans have not.
Yeah.
stayed with the
So,
season.
and I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but there were reports that the Dolphins, Texans are going to finally agree to a trade involving Deshaun Watson. Get that
Soon.
done. You know, soon. Get it out of here. Get that done.
Before November 2nd.
You know, yeah. So just whatever about all that.
But trading Deshaun Watson won't change the fact that the Texans still need lots of work.
Exactly. And they're still
That's
don't have a
right.
direction. What are they going to do? What is their goal?
What are they gonna do? Let's talk. I was going there next, but you brought it up. What are the Texans gonna do? Because they can't keep playing like this every season.
Well, see, you're coming along to my point of view. No one knows what they're going to do. No one knows what direction they're going. At least the Rockets have gone to a youth movement. They got young, talented players who we can see a future with. They're not going to win a lot of games, but they're going to be exciting, take their lumps, and get better. The Texans, aren't they still one of the oldest teams in the league, in the NFL? And yet they still stink?
Well,
They
they're
were,
actually
basically.
not that old. They didn't come to 2009, 2010.
No, he means roster age.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roster age of the Texans.
Yeah. I mean, they got rid of Whitney Merciless, so maybe they're gonna. They were paying him quite a bit, so maybe they got rid of him to make room to pay other people.
That's worse. It made him take a cap hit. They should have done it during training camp or even before. So, and a lot of it when you talk about the Texans, there's a whole big, is it a Cal McNair problem? Is he just not inept to be able to run an NFL franchise? And the biggest question, obviously, of course, is with Jack Easter being why they kept him after they fired Bill O'Brien. They decided to keep him, and some people say he's the reason they hired Nick Caserio to be the general manager. And really, that whenever they hired Nick Caserio, that started the entire Deshaun Watson spiral. So, yeah, there's a lot of smoke over at NRG Stadium. You could probably see the flames from NRG Stadium, if metaphorically speaking. But
this is a good
Hey,
comment.
Jalen Green made a good comment, but it's false.
It's a good comment right there. Tyrod Taylor, at least they had good production at the quarterback spot when he was healthy.
Yeah, but he's inconsistent. I've saw.
He's also injury prone.
Right. Yeah. The last 3 teams that he's been with, he's been fired because of or let go. Well, they use the word fired or terminated on ESPN. But the last 3 jobs he's had, they've gotten rid of him for the same exact reason. So I honestly don't see the Texans bringing him back around unless he gets healthy and really turns the season around. Because he's only on a 1-year contract.
I'm not entirely sure what his contract is, but when it comes to Tyrod Taylor, I mean, essentially he's a bridge gap quarterback. That's what he was supposed to be until whether they develop Davis Mills and he becomes a viable, decent quarterback. I mean, Davis Mills, based off he's put together in the first 5 or 4.5 games that he's played this season, doesn't look like he'll be on a Deshaun Watson level or that top 15 quarterback level, but he's shown flashes. If you can see him develop, I don't know where the Texans will go from there, but honestly, this season has always been kind of a bridge gap year to see what kind of draft capital they can have, because they're finally going to have their first two round draft picks after the way Bill O'Brien, the general manager, got rid of their draft picks. So I mean, even
exactly.
last year.
These last 2 comments with the Rocket fans, Daniel's dad and AA. Jalen Green, we're going to just dive into this on Saturday, talking Rockets, 7 p.m. Hopefully start time on the YouTube channel. Some folks, I mean, we were talked about it on previous shows here. I got some colleagues, you were kicking this around or waiting for practice availability earlier this week. I think it was on Monday, about the Rockets should have drafted Jalen Suggs and kept Kevin Porter Jr. at the 2 guard and had Suggs at the point guard. It's done now. Doesn't matter what we think. What's done is done. Jalen Green and KPJ, some folks believe, are redundant. You know, KPJ is not a true point guard, but the Rockets believe he can be a combo guard with good passing skills. And Andy, to go back to a point you brought up about Şengün minutes ago, a while ago, we brought this up on the show. Şengün might be more of a natural passer than KPJ, but from a different position, especially the high post, you know, as a passing forward. So the Rockets have some things to work out, you know, kinks to iron out, all those things. But this is the great point, and we're going to leave it with this. Oh, wrong one, my fault. Most of the folks are going to be watching the Astros Friday evening against the Red Sox, see if they close out the series and advance to the World Series Friday. Only diehard folks are going to be watching the Rockets in OKC. So if you are diehard Rocket fans, appreciate you. See you come tune in to the Houston Roundball Reviews. Let's Talk Rockets Saturday, 7 p.m. And we can do that and talk about more of this. Daisha Nix as a backup point. I think Josh Christopher, inevitable, is going to be getting more minutes at the point. You're going to see Mr. Augustine get less and less minutes. As long as you see the veterans playing right now early, that means less minutes for the youngsters. I'm against that philosophy. I'll just give the youngsters time now for the rest of the season. But, of course, they need to earn in practice. I think they'll get to that point. That's going to happen. Just like I think Şengün is going to start eventually. That's going to happen. But all that talk, tune in Saturday. We're going to close it out on Folks Talking Sports here. Andy, as always, how can folks find you on the social media platforms?
For sure. On Twitter, it's, as you see it scrolling down, it's at @Yanez_5. Be sure to check out our at Pod Slama Jama podcast on Twitter. It's at PAWDSLAMAJAMA Pod Slama Jama. And, you know, I mean, like you mentioned earlier, we're getting really close to the start of the college basketball season. I believe it's like 15 days until the men's have their exhibition game against is it Montana Tech?
Montana Tech, Coach Kelvin Sampson's first head coaching job, yes. But before I come to you, and New Zealand got somebody from New Zealand watching. Outstanding, man. I'm telling you, YouTube is global. Houston Roundball Review got folks from Morocco, Philippines, New Zealand, England. This is great. Technology is great. U of H men's basketball has a scrimmage, closed-door scrimmage, this Sunday, the 24th, versus the Longhorns in San Antonio. I'm hoping to get some info. Should I call it intel? About how that goes, and we'll have that to share on our next edition of Folks Talking Sports. But yes, okay, now Tamer, to you. How can folks find you and get in touch with you on your social media platforms?
All right, you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TNightSports. Also, if you are a Rockets or Astros fan, I saw a couple of those in the comments. You can tune in to AT&T Sportsnet Southwest to catch me on the TSU Sports Show. There's not really a given date. New episodes bi-weekly. So if you do watch the Rockets or the Astros, you've probably seen it. But new episode coming next week. Make sure you guys tune in. And thank you for having me, Mr. Roundball Review.
Of course, Minty. Glad you were able to join us. And making a comment here to Ethan to get stuff off his chest.
11-year Rocket fan. God bless you.
So, but yes, and closing it out, I'm KG, Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Thank you, as always, Andy, for your time on Folk Talking Sports. Thanks again to Jala Mason for joining us for her first appearance, first of many. Matthew Bartlett from the Roost discussing Rice Athletics and their new invitation to join the American Athletic Conference, and my mentee Tamer Knight for joining us as well on Folks Talking Sports. My website, HoustonRoundballReview.com, Houston Roundball Review on YouTube, Houston Roundball Review on Instagram. At some point, I may get on TikTok, so Tamer may have to help me with that stuff. That's ooh boy, I'm gonna need some arm twisting on that one to get there. But anyway, on that, for the Rocket fans and the folks who tuned in for Folks Talking Sports, we discussed some Astros. Tamer, you missed it. Andy talked Astros in a segment earlier on in the show, early part of the show. Yes, Astros was talked about here. So we talked Astros, Texans, Rice Owls, U of H, and Rockets on Folks Talking Sports.
Andy, who you picking for Game 7?
Game
Boston
7.
Astros.
Whoa. Game 7. What are you talking about?
It's
Game 6 is tomorrow, Tamer.
Are you,
I'm
are you
getting
saying
ahead
the
of
Astros are
myself.
going to lose?
I'm assuming the Astros wins Game 6, and then who are you picking for Game 6? Sorry.
Game
Andy,
6.
do you want to do it, Astros? You want to do it, Andy? Do you want to do it? Do you want to guarantee it?
I probably shouldn't guarantee it in case if I jinx it. Luis Garcia is on the mound for the Astros. I believe. Let me see if I can find a pitching matchup for. I think it's Nathan Eovaldi for Boston, which would be a rematch of Game 2.
I think you're right on that. I think you're right.
Yeah, Game 2 they got beat up. I saw a tweet. It was like, I wish the Astros had a plug in to replug, like a plug. I could unplug them and plug it back in. That was pretty funny.
Okay, what do you say, Andy? Because I'm waiting. My finger's ready on the button. I'm waiting for you. If you're ready to guarantee it.
Well, I'm trying to figure out who's the starter for the Red Sox.
Andy, if you're rooting for the Astros, just say Astros.
Well,
he's trying to get some insight, some intelligence into his pick.
Some logistics. All right.
So,
you can't base it off of Game 2. They've redeemed themselves since then.
come on, Andy. Come on.
Here we go. Nathan Eovaldi embraces challenge of starting do or die ALCS Game 6. So they're going with Nathan Eovaldi, who, I mean, Alex Cora might have made a mistake because he put him in on relief in Game 4 when it was a tied game to try to keep it that way, and the Red Sox would have had a chance to walk it off on the bottom of the 9th, and the Astros got to him, and that was part of that 7-run inning. I think he threw just over 20 pitches in that Game 4, so he's gonna have some wear and tear. Did really good in Game 2, and then like I said, Luis Garcia for the Astros will be starting, who really got shaken up in that Game 2, like Tamer said.
Come on. You're giving some great insight here, but come on. What are you gonna say? You gonna do it?
Garcia said he was facing a knee injury, and that's the reason he struggled at home.
Come on.
I didn't mention Framber Valdez. I'm trying to talk myself into going with the way Framber Valdez
Come
pitched
on, man.
Game 5, and he turned it around. I think Luis Garcia can do a similar performance. Obviously, you got to watch that knee. I feel like the Astros offense will be good, and like I said, since they've already seen Nathan Eovaldi,
So you're picking
the third
Astros.
time this series, I say guarantee it.
There it is.
Guarantee.
Astros in 6.
All right.
Close it out. No Game
I like
7.
the facts. So good enough there. So thank y'all very much for tuning in. Ethan, thank you for joining the Houston Roundball Review channel. If you haven't
What do you
become
mean
subscriber,
I need to be tested for drugs? Get out of here.
You were ready to go to Game 7.
Yeah, you're going to Game 7. You just skipped over Game 6. So yeah. So Ethan, thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. But come back Saturday for Let's Talk Rockets, because we get into some serious stuff there, man. So we get deep into it, a Rocket Talk. So thank you very much. Y'all be safe. Andy, as always, appreciate it, man. Tamer, you take care. Folks tuning in on the channel, thank you for your comments. See you on Saturday. Talking Rockets. Y'all be safe. Take care.
Bye.
Peace.